Welcome to the Michael Singer podcast, presented by Sounds True, in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information about Michael Singer's work, access to all prior episodes, and information about upcoming releases, we invite you to join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com.
Jai Gurudev, Jai Masters. The greatest wisdom, knowledge in life is consciousness. Having some realization of what consciousness is the meaning of your life, but no one thinks about it. Let's start from the beginning. I was reading the other day, I like to read from the scientists. I don't read books, but just little articles, little things there, right? Somebody asked the question, before the Big Bang, which cosmology now thinks that's where it all started, 13.8 billion years ago, it all came out and created everything. And somebody asked the question to a Harvard physicist, what was there before the Big Bang? And it was so beautiful. He said, it has always been and will always be. It's infinite and eternal. That's what he said. That's what was there, the infinite and the eternal. And he wasn't a spiritual teacher. He's a physicist, right? An astrophysicist. What was there, you can't think like that. So the Big Bang wasn't the beginning of, it's the beginning of the known universe, but it wasn't the beginning of what is. So what is was always there. You start there. Eternal, infinite. Eternal, infinite. Well, we give it a name, God. They don't have to give it a name. I don't care. I don't care if that scientist is the biggest ace that's ever lived. He's more spiritual than all the churches and all the synagogues and all the things, okay? Because he understands, he accepts that that's what was there. It's always been there, will always be there. It is infinite, it is eternal, okay? Now what happened? Then somehow we've traced it back that what we call our known universe, all of matter, form, energy, all of it, boom, all of a sudden, in the trillionth of a nanosecond, bam, it just showed up. And it's been expanding outward ever since. Very good. What's going on? I'll start with you. Every one of you are conscious. You don't have to try to be conscious. You're conscious. If you're having a hard time, how do you know? If you're sad, how do you know? If you're happy, how do you know? You do know when you're happy, don't you? How do you know? Because you're conscious. Does a rock know that it's happy? You are a conscious being. You're aware. You know that. It's the essence of what you are is consciousness. I go through this over and over again. I do it in I think, Untethered Soul, right? If you're in a room, and there's all kinds of things in the room. There's people, there's a party, there's piano, there's music, there's food, there's architecture. It's really very special things going on, okay? Are you aware that that's going on? Are you aware of the music? Are you aware that there's music? I don't care what the music is. Are you aware there's music? Are you aware there's food? Are you aware there's people talking? Are you aware? From your hand? Where are you aware from? Not are you aware where you're from. And if you meditate at all, paying attention, you'll say, in here. I'm in here, and it's coming into me. It's coming in through my senses. That's why you have senses. They're computer sensors. Sight, touch, smell, hearing. They're sensors. That's what your senses are. They're sensors. They're picking up the outside world and sending it back to what? To the consciousness. So it knows it's there. It's very simple. How does it do that? Is it wired? Yes, that's what your nerves are. They're the wiring system that picks up the senses, sends it back to the central nervous system, to the brain, okay? And you, who are not the brain, the consciousness is aware that that's happening. Well, is the end user of a computer the computer? No. The computer's not conscious. I'm sorry, AI. Computer's not conscious. It acts like it, and it's really good at it, right? But it doesn't know. It's not conscious, right? But you're conscious of it. So you are a very special thing. You are the ultimate end user. It's all coming in, so it makes it back to you, the conscious being that's in there. Not the mind. We'll get there in a minute. The consciousness. Why not the mind? Do you have thoughts? How do you know? I don't know you have thoughts. How do you know you have thoughts? Because you're conscious. Do you have feelings, emotions? How do you know? I'm in here and I feel them. Who's the I that feels them? Who's the I that's aware of the thoughts? It's consciousness, pure consciousness. So we start with you are conscious. What is the relationship between you in there that's conscious and that which has always been? That's where we're going today. That which is infinite and eternal, that which was in the beginning. Okay? Consciousness is what they mean by soul. They don't use the words. That's what they mean. Your individual consciousness. What does that mean? I started with that room with the party, with all that stuff. Okay? You're aware of it. Consciousness and awareness are the same thing. Just two words for the same thing. Awareness, consciousness. You're aware of all these music, food, this, that, everything. Okay, I'm going to take the food away. No, just poof, disappears. Are you aware that it's gone? Oh, did it change your consciousness? No, it changed what you were conscious of. We call it consciousness, object of consciousness. Ram Dass used to say subject, object. Consciousness, object of consciousness. So an object of consciousness went away. The food went away. You didn't change one iota. What you're aware of changed. Now all the music goes away. Still there? You know it went away? Are you conscious of the fact that that object of consciousness is no longer there? Is it the same consciousness that was conscious when it was there? That's conscious that it wasn't there? Consciousness doesn't change. Okay? Now I'm going to take all the people away. It's getting quiet in there. No music, no food, right? No people. They just went away. They disappeared. Are you aware they're gone? Your awareness did not change. Just because the object of consciousness changed, the consciousness does not change. So you are not the people, you are not the music, you are not the food. You are the one that's aware of those things. Okay? Now get ready. I'm going to take all the furniture in the room. It's gone. It's an empty room. That's all there is, an empty room. You're aware of it, aren't you? Same exact being did not change one single iota. Your consciousness did not change. That's why they call it the light of consciousness. Why? If I have a light that's shining on something and I take the something away, the light's still there. We use the word transcendent. The light is transcendent to the object that it's shining on, isn't it? If the object is shining, it breaks. The light didn't break. If it gets old and withers away, the light is shining on it. Your consciousness is the same. It did not change one single iota. When I took the people away, when I took the music away, when I took the food away, when I took all the furniture away, it's just as equally aware. It's just aware of an empty room instead of aware of a full room. That's the essence of spirituality. You're all yogis. Congratulations, and yoginis. These are the teachings, the essence of the great teachings. That's how simple they are. So you're still conscious. Now I'm going to go one step further. I'm taking a room away. What do you mean? Poof, disappears. Literally, magically, boom, magic, boom, disappears. There's no room. There's nothing there. Are you aware it's gone? You didn't go away because the room went away, did you? It's very deep. One of the deepest yogic teachings, books written, was by Patanjali, or Patanjali, however you want to pronounce it. I say Patanjali, all right? By Patanjali. I think it was written like 500 BC. It's called the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. In that, he does this. He discusses this. He says, when you're awake, you're aware of the outside world. When you go to sleep and you have dreams, do you have dreams? Answer me, do you have dreams? How do you know? How do you know you have dreams? Because the same you is there watching the dream as you wakes up and said, oh, I had a dream. You even use the I for both. I had a dream, and in my dream I was flying, and in my dream I got divorced, and in my dream I died, but then it came back to I. Well, who's telling the story? I am, because I was there. Were you there in your dream? Were you there watching, aware of your dream? See, the awareness didn't change, right? He then goes one step further, Patanjali. He says, what about in deep sleep, where there are no dreams? He says, you're still conscious. You're just conscious of nothing. Because guess what? Every one of you, you just don't pay attention. Every one of you know what I'm talking about. Why? Because you wake up and you say, oh man, I slept so deep, I didn't have any dreams. How do you know? How do you know you didn't have any dreams? Because you were there. How do you know it was so deep and so peaceful? How do you know? So this is consciousness. That's what we're talking about. Okay? So now we're back to your soul. That's what soul means, the essence of your being. Not your thoughts, not your beliefs, not your hopes, not your dreams. I'm sorry to take those away from you, but they're just things you're aware of. Do you have dreams? Do you have hopes? Do you have fears? Do you have anxieties? How do you know? The same you knows all of this, and that you is the consciousness. What is the nature of consciousness? In yoga, I'm going to keep going up and down, jump back, jump forward. Okay, now we have you there, conscious. You're in there. Okay? There's this thing in the ancient, great yogic teachings called Chit Shakti. What is that? Conscious energy. They say God is Chit Shakti. They say you are Chit Shakti. You've all heard the word Shakti. We're talking about Shakti, the energy, right? Let's talk about that for a minute. What do you mean Chit Shakti? Why is there two words? Very often they write them as one word, Chit Shakti. Have you ever heard of magnetism? Have you ever heard of electricity? Do you know that until, who knows, end of the 18th century, 19th century, whatever it was, they thought those were two totally different forces. There's magnetism, obviously, it's magnetism, we understand that, and there's electricity. And then they found out, no, there was one thing called electromagnetism, and they're the same thing. If you take a coil, wrapped copper wire, and spin it around magnets on the outside, it creates electricity. If you take a metal bar, just a plain metal iron bar, wrap it with coils, and then send electricity into it, it creates a magnet. They're the same. They're just two forces coming in at different angles and so on. That's the same with Chit Shakti. Consciousness, I'm telling you that I get chills. If you can get this, you're understanding the entire life and everything. It's the most important thing. Consciousness and energy are the same thing. Consciousness and energy are the same thing. I'll give you another example. Einstein said, he's a pretty bright guy, that matter and energy are the same thing. Energy and matter are the same thing. It's just a temporary state. Energy in a certain state is matter. Matter in a certain state is energy. They're the same exact thing. What do you mean? Water and ice are the same thing. H2O molecules. One's just moving faster than the other. Vapor and water and ice are the same thing. Chit Shakti. Consciousness and energy are the same thing. But why? Why is that so important? All right. Do you have energy inside your body? I'm not going to get into acupuncture and this and that, right? Do you feel energy inside your body? Can you make things move? Is your heart beating? Is there energy in there? That's Shakti. Are you conscious? That's Chit. What happens is the Chit Shakti is the force of the universe. It is what was there in the beginning and will be there in the end. That's what's there. Don't ask me why. There's no answer. It's just what's there, which should send chills up your spine. It's just what's there. Always has been, always will be. There was never a time before it. Why? Because it's eternal. There was never a place that it wasn't, because it's infinite and eternal. And there's another word that I love that scientists, that's why I like quantum understanding, some concepts that quantum physicists are teaching you. They use the word omnipresent. I see it all the time. The only time I ever saw the word omnipresent was God. They use the word omnipresent for the quantum fields. They're omnipresent throughout the entire universe. Equally, they're omnipresent. Chit Shakti is omnipresent. It's that which always was, always will be. You can think about it all you want, but you're wasting your time. Because thoughts are very small, and you're trying to think about something that is incomprehensible to a thought or to the human mind. It has always been there. It will always be there. It is that which is. When Moses was talking to the burning bush, talking to the burning bush was God talking to Moses. And the bush said, go down there to Egypt and let my people go. And he said, well, the Pharaoh's not going to let him. He's the most powerful person in the whole world. You're not going to let all the slaves go. Who should I say send me? To which I tell him, what God? Because they have lots of gods in that culture. What did he say? I am that I am. That is so deep. I am that which is, has always been, will always be. I am that I am. There's no more to say about it. Okay? It's really neat when physics and science touch spirituality. So now we both, the spiritual beings, the yogis, the ancient teachings of the Upanishads and the Vedas, okay, are saying the same thing. They're using the word I am that I am. And you ask a quantum physicist, well, if the quantum fields are omnipresent, and we'll talk about it in a minute, we can make everything out of them, everything came out of them. What was there before them? What are they made of? They say, I have no idea. They're just there. At some point, it's just there. That's what is. We can explain why what we're seeing happens out of that, but we don't have any idea what the quantum field is or where it came from. What the yogis do, it comes from consciousness. It is consciousness. It's the same thing. Someday, maybe they'll get there. All right. So now we have this omnipresent consciousness, energy. What is the relation to Chit Shakti? When consciousness, which is Chit Shakti, consciousness and energy the same, focuses. Can you focus your consciousness? Pay attention. Do some math in your head. Do you have to focus? Have you ever strained to focus? Just tried to focus. You have trouble ADHD. You have trouble focusing. By the way, we all have ADHD. Right? You'll see by the time I'm done. they just take the extreme cases. Oh, this person got ADHD. You all have trouble focusing your consciousness and unfocusing your consciousness. Oh, we talk about focus your consciousness. What if you don't focus your consciousness? It's omnipresent. The reason you are an individual, the only reason you are an individual, is because you're focusing consciousness down on this body. That's where it starts. Are you aware you have a body? Consciousness is aware that there's a body. How are you aware? It sends messages to me. When he touches his arm, I don't feel it. When somebody touches my arm, I feel it. So therefore, I am the arm. No, you are aware of the message being sent to the consciousness that that arm is being touched. Yogananda gets into this, that's the beginning of the fall. That identification with your body is pretty strong, isn't it? Is that my body? No, this is my body. But it's all the same consciousness. It's omnipresent. It's a field of consciousness. But the consciousness is focusing like a light. I was going to talk about that. You all work with lights enough, lighting and stuff. Do you know there's a spotlight and a floodlight? Who knows the difference? A spotlight can be what? 10 degrees, 15 degrees. Floodlight's 80 degrees. It's the same light. Some of them have dials. Those of you guys who are into photography and stuff, right? Turn the dial, it becomes a spotlight. Turn the dial, it becomes a floodlight. Same light. The question is it focused on something or is it broad? Is the beam broad? It's the same thing with consciousness. You can focus your consciousness, can't you? You can focus it on any part of your body. If somebody drop a hammer on your foot, I know where your consciousness is going. It's focusing on your foot. Why? It's being distracted. This is so deep. It's being distracted by the input that's coming from that part of your body, and all your consciousness focuses like a laser beam. That's like a 1 degree beam, goes right down there, and that's all you feel is that. Okay? As it gets better, you come back, right? So your body is where it starts. So what are we saying? We're saying there's a form called your body made of what? I'm sorry, it's made of atoms. It's made of atoms. It's made of cells, isn't it? Okay, aren't they great things, cells? No, cells are made of atoms. No, it's DNA. DNA is a molecule that's made of atoms. That's all it is, atoms. Go stare at a periodic table. Please do. I keep one in my den, and I am not a chemist or a physicist, all right? But I got this beautiful periodic table in my den, and I look at it. You know what it says? Wake up. Because that's all you're looking at. A bunch of those. See how scientists are helping us. Let's just get down to reality. Reality is it's all atoms. Just a whole bunch of atoms. There's just, there are 93 natural ones or something like that. There aren't a whole lot, but there's a whole lot of any one that there is. A whole lot of hydrogen, helium, this, that, and the whole thing, carbon, all right? And your body is made of those atoms, and so is that wall, and so is the outside, and so is the tree, and so is the ground, and so is the earth, and so are the stars. All right. Which atoms do you like the most? Then what are you doing with all these preferences? And what is all this? Who's willing to wake up? Because all you're looking at is atoms. Which atoms are pretty? Which atoms are ugly? Which atoms are old? Which atoms are young? Okay. So consciousness, that you in there, the awareness, becomes aware of this body of atoms. Why? Because it's built that way. It's built to send you messages. I told you, you have a nervous system, you have a skeletal system. I went through the whole thing. All the different systems in your body are made it so consciousness can experience Earth, can experience what it's like to be alive. If you didn't have a skeletal system, you'd be this little blob. You could still see, but it doesn't see much. And you get a skeletal system, you're up there. But now I'm erect, I'm standing up. But you can't go anywhere. You need a muscular system. This is what it's about. That's why you have a body, so that you can experience what God created. You can experience creation, and you can move around, and you got all these senses and all this kind of stuff. But it all comes back to consciousness. Okay? If I got you all the way where we took away the room, we took away everything, right? You're still there, right? What if I turn off your consciousness? Are you there? No. What if the room is full of everyone back? Bam! I clap my hand. Everything comes back. All the food, all the people, all the music. But I turn off your consciousness. Are you there? Okay. Then you understand something very great. That's the essence of your being. That's why it's your soul, the core of your being. Take it away, there's nothing. Put it back, there's everything. Meher Baba used to tell it like this. The whole universe is zeros. Tons and tons and tons of zeros. All right? What do you got? Zero. Take consciousness, the number one, put it anywheres, and all of a sudden, all the zeros become, put it to the left of the zeros, 100 billion, trillion, zillion, quillion. It gives value to everything. Take it away, it's all zero. Put it back, it's 100 billion, zillion, quillion. That's neat. That's an enlightened master telling that story. So you are the consciousness. What happens? I'm going to do both. We're coming down and going up. I love doing this. I live there. I just think about it all the time. All right? I don't want to think about it except you guys think about it. What are you going to do? Should like me? I don't know. I'd rather think about this. So you have this omnipresent field. I'm not going to get into it. I always do. It's hard. You have an omnipresent field, as we understand now. There are no atoms. There are no atoms. There are no electrons, neutrons, or protons. They dug down and they found out, the molecules were made of atoms. The atoms were made of electrons, neutrons, and protons. And electrons, neutrons, and protons were made of quarks and leptons and made of elementary particles, which are down way further than that. Wow, that's quantum physics. They studied it that low. I want to get into it, but I won't. It's fascinating. It's unbelievable. They took it apart. From the beginning of time, Aristotle, everybody, what's out there? Huh? Where did it come from? What's it made of? They are way down there, and they went further. I mean, you've never heard the word quark. I don't care. It's a quantum subatomic particle that makes up protons and neutrons. When they broke apart protons and neutrons, oh my God, they have to have these big, giant colliders miles long, but they have that. That's what the Large Hadron Collider is in CERN. And they bombard these things and they break apart for a moment and they see quarks and leptons above. Now, they don't see them, right? But they detect them. And so fine. So there it is. That's the bottom line quantum physics. They're studying that. What are they made of? There used to be this thing, and you probably haven't heard of it because we're not physicists, but there was a thing called the wave-particle dichotomy. Is it waves? Energy waves, just waves? Or are they particles? Not a problem anymore. They understand, they've gotten far enough down to say these fields, they're not particles, there's fields like lakes. And if something disturbs it, activates it, it makes waves. Like you drop a leaf into a lake, it makes little wavelets. That's what the universe is made of. The wavelets in these quantum fields. And they interact with each other and they end up making properties. Acts like an electron, but it's not. It's a wave. There are no particles. They went back past particles. They say there's little wavelets. Well, you know what yoga says? In the beginning, there was a vibration, the Om, and that created everything. That makes no sense. How can a vibration? Now you understand. A quantum physicist will tell you that vibrations, activations in a field, that's wavelets. They call it wavelets. Everything is created out of those wavelets. Wow. Getting pretty close, isn't it? All right. I think it's neat that you can understand now. intellectually, because we went so far down. That which was so mystical, and okay, they told me some God ohm, they made an ohm, a vibration, a vritti, all right? And then the universe came into being. Well, now there it is, okay? The difference is the yogi understands, the ones who meditated deeply understands that that field is consciousness. They may go a few more layers. I don't know if they'll ever get to consciousness from the outside. How do they know that? They meditated. So what has meditation got to do with it? How would you know thousand years ago? You had no colliders or anything like that. Why? Because it's made of consciousness. So what? You're made of consciousness. That's who's in there. We just said that, didn't we? So you go back in there deep enough. What does that mean? Your consciousness is not distracted by your thoughts or by your emotions or by your body or by the outside world. If it's not distracted, it doesn't focus on those things. I'm not talking about focus. You focus on your thoughts, don't you? Sometimes they're so disturbing that you only focus on a disturbing thought. And the same thing with your emotions. In other words, they draw your consciousness, which is infinite. It is Chit Shakti. It is what was. You are the greatest thing that ever walked the face of the earth. Not this, but you in there. I spent the time separating you out. Your body is something you're aware of. It's not you. We'll talk in a minute about how you got lost in there. But the net result is it is an object made of atoms, quantum field vibrating, little wavelets. That's really what's going on there. And those wavelets put themselves together, blah, 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 and you end up with this. It looks like this. I told you, go to a flat screen TV, get right up close to it, and you're going to see dots. You won't see actors and actresses and news people and this and that, right? You're going to see pixels. They're called pixels. Think of those as atoms. That's what's going on down there. Step back, and your eyes, your sensors, which are not very accurate, they're not like electron microscopes, they average it, and all of a sudden you see pictures on the screen. Go up closer again. There are no pictures on the screen. There are pixels next to each other moving around. There. That's the same thing as going down to the quantum level. Why? What are the pixels made of? Light. They're made of light. All right? So there you are. There's wavelets. Light is not a point. Light is a wave. So it's, I just see you're smart enough to understand, but please do. Because what I was telling you is things are not the way they appear to be. Let's say the least. So basically, you have consciousness. How do the yogis know that it was all made of consciousness? Because they went there. They went back. They went far enough back inside to where their consciousness was not being distracted to focus on something. It's like in the 60s, we used to say expanded consciousness. I don't like the term. And I was a 60s boy. Why? It's not expanded consciousness. It's ceasing to be contracted consciousness. Consciousness is infinite. It's everywhere. It's the omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent force that always was. That's who you are. How could that be? I don't know. I think Christ said my Father and I are one. I think some people, Buddha and some great ones have tried to tell you this, haven't they? But now you understand, you in there that's looking at this is that consciousness. The trouble is it's focusing so extremely, being distracted to focus on something very little. You are God. You're the whole universe. You're the greatest thing that ever was. I mean, again, I'm a nice Jewish yogi. I love Christ. Why? He taught yoga. He taught the truth. He said, as I sit by the throne of my Father, that is not a gilded seat. It's a state of consciousness. As he, the being, as I sit by the throne of my Father, that his consciousness is sitting in the universal consciousness. As I sit by the throne of my Father, so you shall sit by my side. As I sit by the throne of God, so you shall sit by my throne. And these things which I do, you should do these and even greater things. So what's it saying? The same thing yoga teach. So if your consciousness, which is universal, omnipresent, your consciousness, not Christ's, not Master's, your consciousness right now at this minute is omnipresent, is everywhere, infinite, eternal. There's no birth, there's no death, there's just awareness of being. What do you mean there's no birth, no death? If the light is shining on an object and the object breaks or catches fire, that light did not catch fire and the light did not break. Well, your consciousness doesn't break. It doesn't get old. It's not male. It's not female. It was never born. Okay? Like there's a Zen koan. I love it. Now we could talk about it. It goes like this. You know what a koan is? It's something that your mind tries to think of, but it'll never figure it out, and finally you quit, okay? And you give up the mind. This is a koan. What was your face before your mother was born? Don't think about it. But what was your face before your mother was born? The infinite one. That is your real face, the consciousness itself. So you are the consciousness. You are the consciousness. Can we just cry? You are the greatest thing that ever was. You are one with God. Baba said, this was his famous saying, meditate on the self, consciousness. Honor and worship your own being, for God dwells within you as you. And by the way, that's very yogic, isn't it? God dwells within you as you. Meditate, right? What did Christ say? The kingdom is where? What did he say? Is within you. The kingdom is within you. That same you that Baba said, God dwells within you as you. The same you that was there after I took away the room and took away everything. The same you that knows that you didn't have any dreams. You are the greatest thing. How dare you have some self-concept? I am nothing. I want people to like me. You in there, the consciousness, is God, is the greatest of all things. Well, why don't I experience that? Because your conscious, your awareness is capable of being aware of things. And what you're aware of is this tiny little thing. Your consciousness that's universal, it's everywhere, it's at all times, always was, has been distracted down to this thing, a bunch of little atoms that are pulled together into cells. 35 trillion cells make up your body. You know how many atoms are in a cell? So all these pixels got pulled together and you got distracted. That's what you are. You know what you are? Distracted God. You're the greatest thing that ever was. And your consciousness is distracted. As it gets distracted, it focuses on what it was distracted by. Don't you? You hear a noise outside. You're distracted. You get distracted by something that distracts your consciousness. Why does it distract your consciousness? Because you care about it. Somehow your consciousness gives it a greater weight. Your body is a greater weight than hers. I'm sorry. When it comes right down to it, they say survival is the strongest instinct. And it pulls you down to it. So you now identify with your body. You identify with your body. Yes or no? You identify with your body. Who identifies with your body? That which is everything, which is God, the greatest thing in the whole universe, has identified with this little thing that's born and dies and has all these problems. God, I've never taught at this level. Do you hear me? Do you know how great you are? The fact that you're conscious, just every time you feel little, of course you feel little. You limited your consciousness to something so small. You're sitting on why do I teach the way I teach? You're sitting on a little planet in the middle of nowhere. You're on this one little planet spinning around one star, and there's trillions of billions of stars. And you're spinning around one, and it's tiny, and 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. Science again, I love it. 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. And you're sitting on that little planet, spinning around in the middle of nowheres, and you're one of 8.3 billion people sitting on a planet of which 1.3 million fit inside one star, of which there's 300 billion stars in your galaxy, and there's 2 trillion galaxies. You're really important. Do you hear what you've done? Your consciousness, which is a great thing. By the way, there's another name for God in the yoga tradition. One is Chichakti. Chichakti is, that's what it is. It's Satchidananda. What's Satchidananda? Eternal conscious ecstasy. That is what they found when they let go of themselves. What do you mean let go of themselves? Died to be reborn. They are all the same teachings. You let go of this thing that you're focusing your consciousness on. It doesn't have to die. The body doesn't have to die. You have to stop identifying with it because you're not it. You're the one that's doing the identifying. You're not what you're identifying at, okay? And when you let go of that, you cease to be distracted by it because you let it go. And boom, you merge. That's what the great masters, that's what the samadhis are. That's that state. You merge back into what? Into who you are. It's not like you found God. You always are. You're already there. Isn't that beautiful? How close are you to God? Well, let's see. Are you conscious? That's how close you are. I want to find God. I need to go to the Himalayas. No. You're welcome to go, okay? But you are it. That thou art. Tat Twamasi. That thou art. Aham Brahmasmi, the great mantras. Aham Brahmasmi. What does that mean? I am Brahma. Shiva Hum. I am Shiva. Tat Twamasi. That thou art. Soham. I am He. This is spirituality, right? Not all the books and this stuff, all right? So now your conscious has been distracted by the signals that are being sent up from the quantum field. Because ultimately, it's all the quantum field. It builds its way up into atoms, blah, 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 and you're sitting and you are lost, all right? And what happens, all right? We might as well get it down. What does it mean to be lost? First, you're distracted by your body. You are, aren't you? And because you're so distracted by it, you've taken this consciousness down to this one little point and you're watching the thing, you're lost. You're lost because you were Satchidananda. You were feeling eternal conscious ecstasy. Now you're not. Now you're feeling the body. You're feeling this. And then there's things going on outside that come in through the senses. It's very confusing. It's overwhelming. And so what do? You, the consciousness, it's still there. It's still conscious. But it's limited itself down to these expressions and these experiences. So what it needs to do is find some solidity. Imagine being a newborn baby and there's all these lights and this thing. You were in this nice little womb and you come out and, oh my God, there's talking and people and things. I told you once, you want to find out how true this is? And don't you dare do this because you'll go to jail. You should go to jail if you do this. Every single night, put the baby in a different crib, and every single day have somebody different pick it up and hold it and feed it and have totally different toys, every single different blanket, every single day. You will have the most neurotic human being unless they were born enlightened. If it was a Dalai Lama, he'd do fine with that, all right? But a normal human being, that is beyond torture, that's beyond comprehension. Why? They can't form a self-concept. You've heard that word, haven't you? Self-concept? What is a self-concept? Something you make up in your mind. That's a concept. It's not reality, but they won't be able to form a self-concept. What do you mean? This is my mommy. This is my crib. This is my toy. This is my blankie. Whose? God's? Every blanket's God's. Every toy is God. What are you talking about? No, I've limited myself down to this body, so I'm only receiving what's coming in through these senses. I'm only experiencing the experience I'm having. Okay, I made myself that little. Now I'm lost. I'm not who I am, God. I don't experience that. I'm busy experiencing this, so I need to somehow build solidity. You need to build solidity. How? You have experiences. You identify not just with the body, you identify with the experiences you're having. This is my mother. She's taking care of me. She's there. It's there. So I feel more comfortable because it's there. It's something I can relate to. Well, you do it with your car. You do it with your car. What if you go out there and somebody sit in your car? Get off my car. They're all cars. They're the same. They're all metal. No, you've identified with that one. You've identified with mommy. You've identified with daddy. You identify with your shirt. These are things you built in your mind, right? Not just your body. Your body's physical. Your mind is not. But you have a mind. Who does? Consciousness. It's too much for you. But I'll tell you, where does mind come from? Same place body came from. Consciousness vibrated, created form. Consciousness descended to look at the form. And on its way down, there's different vibration levels. And on its way down from pure consciousness, energy, Shakti, okay? Hey, the electromagnetic spectrum, ever look at it? Radio waves, up to infrareds, ultraviolets, all kinds of vibration levels. That's the whole universe is made out of vibrations. So as consciousness, Shakti, Chit Shakti, descends, each layer of the descent is a different vibration rate. Just like ice is a slower vibration rate than water, is a slower vibration rate than mist. That's all it is. Molecules moving faster or slower. That's all the descent. As God comes down into his creation, which is God, right? It's the same consciousness. That's called non-duality. Now you understand the teachings, right? Now it's non-dual. So consciousness emanates, building the vibrations, builds form, descends down into it, same consciousness, right? It's all one. Descends down into it, the vibrations get slower and slower. Well, mind is a higher vibration rate. Emotions, They generally say that emotions, then mind, then superconscious, then God, right? God non-descended. You understand that? So mind is just a vibration rate of Chit Shakti. These are things, how do you get to know this? Meditate. Let go of yourself, and you will experience it. You'll experience that mind is nothing but a vibration rate, okay? Just like the vibration, the wavelets of the quantum fields became form, all right? The vibration rates of mind become thought forms. You build form inside your mind, don't you? Can you hold on to thoughts? Are the thoughts that you've held on to your whole life that are bothering you still, that happened when you were young or something like that? Where are they? They're not there anymore. The atoms aren't there anymore that did that. They made something else. But in your mind, you're able to build things out of that subtler vibration rate called mind, which is really consciousness ascended. Oh, does anybody get this? You get it? Oh, thank you. That's beautiful. All right? That's what mind is. It's a field of energy, each of them a field of energy. It's called the mental plane or the emotional plane, all right, and the physical plane. They're just vibration rates of energy. And so your consciousness, you have power. Anything you focus on, that's will. Will is the focusing of consciousness. Will. You have will. Can you make things happen? You have will. Can you make thoughts? Can you make thoughts? Make a boat. See it? Queen Mary. You can develop form. Do you know that a psychic could see those boats? I've met psychics that are psychic enough, real, a lot of fakes around there, that can literally see what you made with your mind. It's a form. It's a thought form. You made it out of there, okay? So what you did with your form of mind is you built a self-concept. That's the first thing you did with mind, out of panic. I'm the one who lives here, and this is my husband, this is my wife, and this is my kid. You didn't do that when you were first born, all right? But you're still doing it. Aren't you still doing it? Aren't you still clinging and grabbing things and saying, because I had the experience, that's who I am. I'm the one who played Dorothy in the 3rd grade. I'm the one who was married to this. I'm the one. No, you're not. You existed before that, did you not? If you didn't play Dorothy, you're still you. You're still in there. But you're lost. You're lost. And so what you're doing is constantly trying to build thought forms to develop a self-concept that the self is comfortable living in. And believe me, it is not comfortable. It is God. It is eternal conscious ecstasy. It will never be comfortable inside of a cage. You made a cage of thoughts, didn't you? This is who I am, and this is what I like, and this is what I don't like. Do you have preferences? How do you know? How do you know what you like? Because you're in there. You're conscious. Your mind tells you. No, I don't like that. So you meet somebody. They were having a bad day, so they weren't really nice to you in the meadow. No, I don't want to see him again. I know who he is. You don't know anything about this guy, right? He's complicated. He had all his experiences. They teach it all the time. When you stand in the presence of another human being, one, you're standing in the presence of God, descended. Lost in what? Lost in a set of thoughts that is a sum of that person's learned experiences. And now psychology says, man is the sum of his learned experiences. No, you are the consciousness watching the mind be the sum of your learned experiences. Why did you bother clinging to the sum of your learned experiences? You're having new experiences in one moment. You met this guy who didn't say something nice. Now there's a whole other experience. You miss it. Why? Because you're trying to digest it in your mind. You're trying, why wasn't it nice to me? I don't know. I like him. I'm going to find out somebody else who's mean to me. He's just a mean person because I don't feel good. You're so cute. So let's just get lost in the mind. Okay? And so you build a self-concept and then you live in it. It's like a house. And if somebody challenged your self-concept, that's not your wife. That's my wife. Oh my God, we're going to have some trouble, you and me. Right or wrong? Okay? I told you. What if you went home? You drove down the street where you live, and your house is not there. Go back, check the street sign. You know, haven't been drinking, all right? You know, that acid trip, it took 20 years. I was coming back. So you drive down the street again, and the house is not there. It's not that there's an empty lot. It was never there. There's houses where it was. There are neighbors. Yeah, but what's going on? You go to your neighbor's house who you're very good friends with. You knock on the door. Yes, how can I help you? Totally cold. Well, it was my house. What are you talking about? I live next door to you. I'm calling the police. How you doing? How would you be doing if that happened to you? Total freak, total breakdown. Why? Because you built a self-concept that said, I'm here and I live there and you know me. I, me, mine, I, me, mine. You built something in your mind. A yogi, a true master, would have no problem with that. None, because he doesn't live down there. His house is up here. His or her house is up here. And they're in ecstasy. If they go where they were before, and it's not there, okay. Ramdas, like Ramdas, right? Neem Karoli Baba. They said that about Neem Karoli Baba. Said they'd be out there talking to him on the porch. Ramdas, when he first went to India, he didn't understand the rules. He's talking to Neem Karoli, his guru, Baba, and Ramdas goes inside. And one of the devas says, well, wait a minute, who's with Baba? He's a grown man, nobody. No, he'll just wander off. Ramakrishna was the same way. He'll wander off. He doesn't know the difference. He's fine everywhere, anywhere. It's all the same. It's all exactly. He doesn't live down here. You don't have to go there. Don't worry. I guarantee you wouldn't mind if you did. What if you're in ecstasy all the time? You're just in ecstasy. You're fine. That's a nice life. All right. So basically, your consciousness comes down as it comes down to lower and lower of its own vibrations, okay? And then it makes a self-concept. That's what your ego is. That's what your whole thing that Freud talked about, that you built inside. I love that psychology. They say you have a self-concept. And they tell you to build a good one. The yoga didn't tell you to build a good one. They tell you to die to be reborn. That's what you let go of, your self-concept. Why? It's just something you build. I started telling you, when you stand before another human, it helps a lot, this teaching. You stand before another human being, I don't care who they are. I don't care what they've done. You're standing in the presence of God, consciousness, focused, lost, just like yours, focused on the sum of that person's learned experiences. Just like yours is the sum of your learned experiences, that's the sum of their learned experiences. Judge not that ye shall not be judged. You see his teachings? They're really beautiful, aren't they? You're standing in the presence of the sum of somebody else's learned experiences, and they're not your learned experiences, so of course they're different. But that's God in there. Now, you still can work with them. Nobody's saying you have to do what they said. You can try to bring peace. A great human being does not judge anybody or anything, period. What did Christ say? When I was in prison, you came to visit me. You understand that? He who was without sin, throw the first stone. In the third Zen patriarch, one of the deep Buddhist teachings, he says to cease the burdensome process of judging. Why do you judge? Because that other person is not the same as you. And you judge everything based on the sum of your learned experiences, don't you? Why don't you accept that what you're standing before is the sum of their learned experiences, and you look the same to them as they look to you, which means, oh, look at how she could think like that. How could she possibly think like that? Because she had totally different experiences than you. And the problem is not that they had different experiences. We all have different experiences. That's what we're doing, having different experiences. It's the fact that we're lost and we try to find ourselves in the sum of our learned experiences. This is how I am. I've always been like this. I'm not impressed. That's the kind of thing I like. I've always liked it that way. It's just how I am. No, you're not. That is what you're staring at. Those are the thought patterns that you collected and built a house inside your mind called I, me, mine. And you identify with it. And you try to present it to other people. And you try to have other people like it. Don't you like the one I built? Right? You want my favorite one? Here's my favorite. Don't you dare blush. You're in a relationship. You really, really like the person a lot. And they say to you, no, you're not what I thought you were, and I really can't handle the way you are. To which you say, no, I'll change. I can change. Tell me how you want me to be. What does that mean? You made it up. Why don't you go build your house on sand? That's the ego. That's how shallow the ego is, that it can say something like that. And it can say that, can't it? I'm not telling you not to. Don't just go out and do your thing. Right? But now you can walk out here a little more aware when you walked in. It's like, be wise, understand. And what does it mean? It means the thing's fake. Somebody wants to ask Yogananda, what's the ego? Fully enlightened being. What's the ego, Master? One sense, not Freud. One sense. The masquerading self. You start growing into that to understand that's what's happening. You in there got lost. You left God. You got distracted away from God. You didn't leave God. You just got distracted from it. And now you've built this false house. Why? I'm scared. I built something out of some of my experiences. I built a mask. I hold it in front of me. And as long as you accept it, I like you. And if you don't accept it, I don't like you. Period. I don't like these kind of people at all. I can't be around them. They don't agree with me. You like people who agree with you, don't you? You don't like people that don't agree with you. All right? You getting it? What's happening? That's what's going on. Okay? So that which is infinite and eternal is what your consciousness is. So now you have an understanding of what you've done. You've made yourself so little that you have to try to make yourself seem bigger by having followers on Facebook, by having people that like you, having somebody who loves you. These are all wonderful things. You're going to do them. Don't worry. But just understand you're way greater than that. The fact that people clap when you come in the room, how many people? In what room? Give me a break. You've made yourself so little that you let these little things make you feel better, right? I don't want you to feel better because you get what you want. I want you to let go of the ignorance of staring at this self-concept and trying to make it be accepted and make it be special, all right? As opposed to letting go and being more than special, being everything, okay? And your presence, look, Christ was 2,000 years ago. One man, quote, walked the earth. He didn't have that many followers. I tell you, there weren't that many people around at that time, right? And basically, somehow his energy, his presence, 50% of all people on the planet today have a cross around their neck. And same thing with Buddha. You are that. That's who you are. You're capable of bringing that beauty down here. And you don't have to do anything. It's just, if the presence is there, it changes everybody and everything. So that was the purpose of the discussion, to show you've made yourself so little, but you are so great. Find it inside. The outside comes and goes. It falls apart. And, death's going to happen to the outside. Inside is eternal. It's infinite. It's beautiful. The more you can do to let go of this ego, not suppress it, just realize it's stupid. It's stupid. You understand that? It's just a stupid thing to care what people think about you. They're going to think about you not based on you, based on the sum of their learned experiences, right or wrong. It has nothing to do with you. And if you go out there and try to make people like you, you sold out. You don't have to make them not like you. You have to suppress. You have to just realize you're way deeper than that. And what's funny is the beings that have let go of their ego, everybody wants to be around. They emanate light. Why? Because that's what's in there. We had a nice discussion. Work on yourself. Jai Gurudev.
You've been listening to the Michael Singer Podcast, produced by Sounds True in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information on Michael's body of work and all back episodes, please join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening. Sounds True, waking up the world.